Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Studio Reverie, reading Arc 6 for you. We're here with chapters 23 and 24. If you have not already, you can go audition. Our auditions are open till June 27th, 2025 at 3 p.m. EST. You have until then to audition if you want to join us for Arc 7. Hello, everybody. Any other things? The podcast, that's what I need to mention. Podcast should be up this week. Honestly, this semester has been absolute mayhem, and I'm exhausted, and I just have not finished the edit, but it should be out for you guys this Friday, with the Arc 6 podcast coming up the Friday after, and hopefully we get back on track. Hello, everybody. So, yes, we're getting started in a moment. We just needed a few minutes to wake up. I have to connect our audio, and then we'll introduce our team, chat, and get started. All right, let me see if it connects this time. Do.
Got the time on my hands now.
Hey, it works.
Yay!
Hello.
Yay. All right. Without further ado, let's get started introducing ourselves. We'll start at the top with Al, number 1 Stan.
Hello, everyone. I'm Al. I'm finally out of the basement for now. I suspect with Connor being back, I'm gonna get shoved back in the basement real quick. So, yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Back you go.
Yeah, I mean, you got past the guards. What can I say? It's probably too late. Hello, everyone. I'm back. I'm Connor. I'm the voice of your Julius and Rom for the time being, though they might still sound a little gravelly today.
Welcome back.
Yay. And I'm Gold. I am, right now, just a narrator, but I'm also one of your hosts of the ReZero podcast, and I'm one of the founders of this channel. And, yeah, I'm just happy to be here, everybody. Hope you're all doing well on this lovely Wednesday night. Or whatever it is for you.
Nice. Okay, my turn. Greenie here, one of the editors of Studio Reverie, here to join with these amazing people for these 2 chapters.
Oh.
I am Carmen, one of the other editors, as well as the voice of Gluttony and your lovely Melee.
Oh, geez. Hello, it's me, Kyles McGiles. I am your Amelia, Shala, and temporary Anastasia as well today. Yay!
Hello, I am Tealdi. I am narrating and also the stand-in Beatrice.
Hello everyone, Wolf here. I'm your Subaru, and I'm also one of the founders of the channel and a co-host of the ReZero podcast. So I win!
He wins.
He wins.
I just don't know what my prize is.
Win stupid.
Satisfaction of a full life.
Yay. Good for
Happiness,
you.
I guess.
Happiness.
These vague concepts falling through my fingers.
Slipping through my fingers.
Oh, we never promised tangible rewards.
I'll give you 5% of the timeshare back, Wolf.
You mean I get 5% of my fucking time?
No,
share
he
back?
gets 5%. So you have 50, I have 45, and he gets 5.
He also
Okay.
gets 1 Happy Meal. I'll give him a Happy Meal.
Yippee! I can grow big and strong.
Yeah. Maybe just big.
Oh, jeez.
Damn! That was quick.
Scathing.
Too quick.
Scathing.
Indeed.
I apologize.
You better be sorry.
Back to the basement with thee.
Why does everyone want to be in our basement?
Isn't that where your recording booth is?
Yeah, but it's not the greatest, I gotta say. There's other great ones.
I speak with the rats down there.
We don't
They're my
have
friends.
rats.
We don't have rats. I mean, we have one.
No,
far as
because
you
you
know.
spoke with them.
Yeah, exactly. I negotiated.
See?
A truce.
A truce.
Truce.
Try to keep my basement
They will help me
clean.
get out the first time.
Oh my goodness.
If you can't tell everyone at home, today we are all running on very, very neurodivergent fumes.
Yeah,
There's like
yeah.
nothing in this tank.
Mhm.
No.
Kooky right now.
I think
Yeah.
we're
Great one for our witches to make their appearances in here.
Oh!
That's true.
At least it's not Betelgeuse again.
It's witches.
Yes!
Oh god.
Do we
Witches.
cast our witches yet, by the way?
I don't think
We did for
Why
the edited versions, but
Yeah.
not for today.
Not for
Yeah,
today.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, not for today.
Today's a bit more important.
Who wants to be a witch, everybody?
Can I be a witch? I would love to be a
Slay,
witch.
man.
Yeah. Typhon or Minerva?
I don't think the first one actually speaks.
Oh.
Oh,
Really?
Minerva for you.
She has like
Yay,
lines
I'll
of
get to be Minerva.
like silence breaks, but
So just like grunts.
Breathing.
Ah.
Ah! Huh?
Who was
I'll
it?
do it. I'll do Typhon breathing.
Thank you for the breathing.
Typhon breathing
Typhon
ASMR,
breathing.
10 hours long. I still got to do this
Oh
Atala
lord.
Oh no.
Oh.
10-hour looped video.
Dude, you're just gonna do a live stream of you doing that for 10 hours?
Yeah, I mean, somebody wants
unannounced.
a 10-hour looping stream of our intro music for like sleep aid. So I mean, we could
What?
do that.
I mean, that's nifty.
Yeah,
That's
Funny.
crazy.
get those views.
Do the intro music, but then like every now and then, like at random intervals, just
a Wolfiana.
insert random.
But it gets more
Oh.
bass boosted
Heyo.
each time it happens.
Or Rem going, you
Yeah.
are now entering REM sleep.
And then a metal pipe sound.
honestly, that would probably be our best
Not the middle
performing
pipe.
video by a long shot.
Halfway through the night, you're finally resting.
Every time you think you're resting, you think, why start breaking into my house? What the fuck? And you're just like, huh?
It's like you finally nestle into that good spot, you know, on the bed. You finally found it, and then boom.
Ah, water shot up my nose with that. It really
Mm.
fucking hurt.
Oh,
It's not good.
No.
It's really not good.
How dare
has
you
some
make me
pleasant-
entertained?
gross.
Snort, chortle,
Oh.
even.
It was a turtle.
Don't know if you
Alright.
guys have ever done that with a carbonated drink before, but it's even more spicy.
Mmm.
Oh, it is.
Spicy nostril.
Thank you so much, Sock, for the $10.
Thank you,
That's going
Sock.
towards our
you.
asset fund. We really appreciate it.
Apologies. Let me
Yay.
pop this up in
It's
front.
so sweet of you.
Thank you, thank you.
All the support we've been getting is going a long way, and yes, we are still working on Vostiff and everything like that. We're
Oi.
just situating our cast and getting all that formatted, I would say.
We
It's
should
the therapy fund.
Yeah, we'll be starting our rewrite quite soon. I'm gonna have more
Yeah, we'll
time
do
in the
it
next
this
week
time.
or two. So yay!
I'll be working on it this weekend.
Yeah.
As I
Yep.
said, you can tag me in for writing or
we'll-
editing.
True.
My goal is to get the. I'm gonna try to get the draft done on Sunday, since
Mhm.
for Mother's Day, my mom is visiting the sibling that lives 14 hours away.
Oh
so
my
I have the whole day
God.
free.
Yeah,
Oof.
real quick.
But yeah, cut it apart some, and then we'll probably divvy it up.
Mm,
Cool.
for sure.
Sometimes.
Will be great. And then yes, this is all good for the asset fund because Arc 7 Arcade is underway. We have the auditions on the in probably our Discord, right? If you want to find it,
Yes.
you can find it. And it's under Castle Club. And yeah, there's a lot of characters to try out.
Please, there's so
at all
many.
experience
Help.
level- yes, anybody, all experience levels are allowed to try. We like a diverse range of voices and also a diverse take. Because who knows, maybe your take is unique enough and interesting enough that we think it is a lock.
Yeah,
Don't
even if
be
it,
shy.
there have been a couple
Don't let
auditions
my
so
poor
far.
auditions be
What?
the only ones on some of those. Please don't abandon me.
I'm so lonely.
Join me.
We have already had over 200 submissions, so there's a lot.
40
And
of
you
those
can
are
have that
me.
chance too.
Yeah, 40 of those are the album.
What a
Please
chap.
don't make me
Padding the
do it.
numbers.
Please.
Yeah.
What,
There
you
you
want to
go.
just have the one character that doesn't actually have a real voice line? She just goes ooh the whole time?
Yeah. Whoa. Guys, we gotta like get some, submissions, and so the Teal'c sweep doesn't look that manufactured. Come on.
Please, come on.
True.
I can't go back to the Overlord days. Please, do not let me.
Yeah,
Save me from myself.
No. Whoa, wait.
We learned our lesson. When we had chapters that were just Wolf and Kyle's for 3 in a row, it almost killed the channel. We aren't risking that again.
What?
That's
Almost
true.
did?
Liliana.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
chapter.
yeah, fuck.
It was just you and Wolf.
It was a tough time. It was the
It's
worst.
a
of
team
times.
effort. Team effort to bring us all together.
Never again.
Trauma bonding.
Trauma
If he ever
bonding.
shows back up in the story, I quit.
I'm
I
being
quit.
so real. If we didn't start up these live recordings, we would have died again too. So I'm so thankful we do these.
This is
It was a great idea.
it's a
It
good
was.
way to get
Pat
us
yourself on the
in
back,
because oh my god, time
Thank you.
feels so sparse nowadays, and this ends up working out better.
Tired is
It's all getting
time,
old.
but I'm
Welcome to your mid-20s, Wolf.
Oh, don't talk to me about this. I'm still reconciling.
You're aging. You're aging.
Oh, you don't want to know what happens later.
Telly, no,
Yeah.
stop.
My feet already hurt. And
I'm
my back
gonna be-
already hurts. I don't want to do it more.
I'm 30
Like we're talking
next
to a war
year.
veteran with Teal'c here.
Next year.
Fuck.
Literally.
Literally.
Wow, yeah, holy shit, you are a vet.
Yeah.
Whoops. Yeah, that did happen.
Tyone
Oh,
door unlocked.
That's crazy.
I feel like
Man,
each stream we
that's
get like
crazy.
a new piecemeal law unlock for TLD.
A little bit, but you'll never get enough to string it all together.
Yeah, it's like an ARG.
Another
He
pixel.
only wrote half the points. The other half are just left up to interpretation like Elden Ring.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And then
That's the best
Thank you,
kind
Jack.
of story.
Thank you for the gifted membership, Jack.
hi, hi.
Thank you so much.
Surprise,
Oh.
surprise. Without further ado, oh, excuse me. I had such bad acid reflux. I'm so sorry.
Do you need me to
Should
get
we-
the thing that helps? with
No,
that?
I hate Tom's.
No, I'm getting it.
No,
I'm getting it.
I don't want it.
It sounds like
really hate
everyone
it.
here is just drunk. Like,
I really wish I was. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
Like, you could at least have the
Yeah?
fun time with it. No, I just sound
Yeah.
drunk 'cause I'm tired.
While he's gone, would anyone mind a quick recap on what happened last time? I wasn't able to listen to the whole thing as I was passed out on cold medicine.
Okay. Last time on ReZero. What happened? I don't remember. It was kind of a blur
What did
for me.
happen?
the stairs.
The trial.
There was the long
Oh,
stairs.
There was
talk,
stairs
long
and
stairs.
monoliths.
Yes, the
and then
monolith.
The monolith.
We figured out it's
And then-
Orion.
Julius tweaking.
The
Yeah.
answer was Rigel, so we got a flash to Remith and Beetlejuice. And now we are in the library.
Oh, good.
I mean, they did kind of take a math test in a kind of way.
Well,
kind of.
Like, if
Ugh,
you
that
boil
was
down.
a fucked up math test.
Yeah.
I think talking to Shala is a math test.
I think
Some
that's a-
kind of
that's-
test.
It's a patience test. I think.
It's just my patience. We got some good Shala dialogue. This week's a fun one. I really we got in real in depth about stars. That was good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Astronomy.
Did we get any
Oh,
more
we had
evidence
astronomy.
for Flugel being a 1940s German?
True. Actually.
Technically, yes. We also got the coin. No, that was the week before.
Yeah, that was before.
Yeah.
Dementia.
Wasn't there some? Shut up! Wasn't there something else that happened? Thanks,
Oh, wow.
Magic.
Thank you,
Wasn't
Mimic
that-
You.
Hey, maybe Q, you sent in an
Oh, yeah.
audition. Thanks so much.
On the spot now?
Well,
No,
one
like
of
a
our
week ago.
first email ones
Okay.
that we received. I was like,
Nice.
why do I know?
Just on
That's
the
why I know
spot.
your name.
We had to explain to Kyle's what Mimic You was in that conversation, too.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Don't
So
all
it's
be
the
like
one
I'm
that
a
looks
poor
like-
child. My parents just hated anime.
Ah.
See, I know
Anime.
it
Well,
from the
that's
games.
from a game.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to play the games either. It was against
Um,
God's rules. I don't know. They
What?
had every single excuse in the
What?
book, and they just didn't
But
want
my
me to play
church-
Pokemon. They
My
just
church
no
had
one
a
could stop
Pokemon
me
club.
because the first one came out.
Yeah.
I was in high school, so no one could stop me.
they just hated anime. They just were haters. So they found every excuse. They're like, it'll melt your brain. It's bad for you. It's awful. Oh, I don't want to take
Dang.
those.
It'll melt your brain like the rays of the sun.
Yeah. Pikachu's just that intense, man. I don't want this.
Knowledge of Pikachu will blow up your brain.
Just knowing about it, just
But Arceus is the one true way.
always.
Oh yeah, that would be like knowing about Arceus and being like, oh yeah, that's a Pokemon god. That would be what? That would be sacrilege,
Heresy.
heresy. That was the word I was
I
looking
hate
for.
you, but thank you.
Heresy.
She will not thank me for it,
Heresy.
but
We need to do his dad
acid
too.
problem will be sorted shortly.
Did you bring her some base?
No, I don't need the base. I don't need to be
Uh-huh.
neutralized. My pH is acidic enough.
Your pH is sitting fine.
I guess Tums
Sitting at
are
-7?
base, aren't they?
Yeah,
Dwarf
they are.
base.
This is what
Yeah.
happens when
What
you
a
drink
chalky.
3 cups of coffee a day!
Fucking hate Tums.
Lies.
Anyways,
Based
without
on
further
what?
ado, shall we get started?
Yes!
We need the dad.
Yes.
We need a dad. Well, okay, we got
Not
Gold
it.
as narrate. Not it.
Got it.
I'll take it.
Okay,
Okay.
taken. Is that Greenie?
Are you able to see the chapter in
Yeah,
front of
it's
you yet?
me. I can see it. Don't worry. It's the one highlighted, right? It's just that one line.
Are you in the car?
Yeah, he's in the car.
You're not allowed while you're driving, Greenie.
No voice acting while you're driving!
I'll do
The
it.
last
It's one
we ever
word.
heard of him.
No, I
It's
reread
one
like
word.
the bit, so I know where what I have to say. I just need to know. Is it just that one line?
Oh. Well, yeah.
We can't condone this. We can't set that precedent.
No, 'cause I'm
sorry. I'm
parking right
sorry,
now.
Greenie. Not when you're in the
Okay.
car.
No.
How far are you away from home?
1 minute.
Okay. All right, we'll give it to you. It's a later one in the
Um,
chapter. You better
yeah.
get on quick.
Yep. Get in
No,
and ping
no,
the
I-
channel.
Don't speed. Don't speed.
Don't speed. Be
speed.
safe. Obey all traffic laws.
For now, Connor will cover until you message us saying, yes, I'm in and I'm on 9.
Studio Reverie
Yeah.
endorses all traffic laws.
Oh my gosh, that was a whole thing for so
Controversial
long.
take, I know.
Arrive safe. Arrive alive.
Like, I'm a
All right,
mandated
all right.
federal reporter. If this shit gets out, I
Deadass.
lose my fucking
Oh,
job.
Yeah, Greenie, we don't endorse this.
Don't wink.
I have top
Yeah, I
secret
have
clearance.
full
I can't
to be fair, I
endorse
ran
this.
into
I'll
this.
lose that.
Yeah. There's at least
don't
3
worry.
people in the call.
Yeah.
All right.
We
Yeah, just-
bear
Uh,
witness.
Just
Bye.
ping me when you're at your PC, and we'll be good.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'll ping you. Don't worry.
Gold, you locked in?
I'm locked in. Is everybody else locked in?
Yeah!
Yippee yippee. I
Bye.
suppose.
Let's take it
right.
away.
Without further ado. Arc 6, Chapter 23. The Third Floor Library. Take out a review. The surrounding world of white evaporated, leaving behind a room carved with stone and uncountably infinite shelves. Feeling the stone he had been touching disappear, Subaru took this to mean that his answer had been correct. Then, in that case,
Amazing, Subaru. Good.
The examiner's personality is just too wicked!
That's your first reaction?
ready to celebrate that the third floor Taigata had been solved, Amelia was stunned speechless. Echoing through the tower was Subaru's vitriolic cry. Looking back to the surprised Amelia and everyone else watching him, Subaru gave a "my bad" as he continued to talk.
Although it's as everyone suspected, and I've indeed solved the riddle, but that it was solved like this is a huge issue. Or rather, it's unfair to all of you.
Is that so? Subaru used esoteric knowledge to solve the riddle, is how it seems to me.
Rather than saying I solved the riddle with my own knowledge, it's more like only someone specifically like me can solve this, is the issue here.
Tilting her head in confusion, Amelia faced Subaru as he scratched at his head. To consider the best way to explain this in detail would turn out to be a bit of a problem. The exam of the third floor Tegata was just as Subaru had answered, derived from the myth of Orion. The notion he had set aside was, the person who riddled this might have been an astronomist or a romantic, with the reason being that the myth of Orion did not exist in this world. Whether Orion, or the celestial name of Shala, or any of the other constellations, all those were astronomical knowledge from Subaru's original world. In this current world, perhaps was the far future, set after the civilization of Subaru's original world had long been lost to the past. Subaru had long affirmed that this world's night sky contained different stars than the ones he had known.
So, the passage of time completely changed the layout of the stars. In that case, there's no option but to just wave your hands and surrender, since Orion or whatever doesn't exist anymore.
After an extensive period of time, Orion had long since vanished from the night sky, and anything like his myths had disappeared too. If this were the case, one conjecture could be made. The creator of the riddle was someone who knew the same sky as Subaru. Furthermore, all those aside from those who knew the stars of the previous world were born naturally defeated by the exam's riddle. And the one who had designed the riddle, according to Shala's report, was without a doubt Sage Flugel.
Your master seems to have been a guy with a decidedly wicked personality.
No. Why would you say that? It's unlike Master to be self-deprecating. Although the wicked personality bit can't be denied, it's still reasonable for the riddle to be solved. If it were Reed, it would be unsolvable. Something about revealing another self and being unable to pass without victory in battle?
That's horrifying! Either way, the test would go nowhere!
All in all, the heroes of the past who had subdued the Witch of Envy all seemed to have terrible personalities. With this person, using knowledge from another world would probably work better.
Alright, and now?
As Subaru mulled over Shala's explanation that wasn't an explanation, Anastasia interrupted the pair to glance around. Stroking her scarf, she examined the shelves crammed with books.
Thanks to Natsuki-kun's hard work, the exam's solved. That's excellent. But what's the point of this library? What kind of books does it have? I find this quite interesting.
According to Miss Shala, the place is a trove of knowledge without bound and without break, is what she had said.
Nodding in accord with Anastasia's words, Julius glanced toward Shala. Bearing an expression as if she had forgotten her own earlier words, Shala had her skin pressed against Melee's as she played with her. The expectations had not been high to begin with, but it seemed that Shala's explanation of this library of Tagato was not forthcoming.
That reaction. It seems that this is the first time Tagata's been opened, in fact. Let's walk around and take a look, I suppose.
Indeed! Hey, you! Could it be that you can't hold back anymore?
That might be the case, in fact.
Clutching her dress from beside Subaru, Beatrice seemed to be speaking a tad faster than usual. Eyes gleaming softly, gazing up at the library with fascination, upon realizing the reason, Subaru forgot their circumstance and began laughing.
Seems like the Forbidden Library wasn't some unpleasant memory to you.
It's not a particularly pleasant memory, I suppose. However, in any case, it's a place where Betty spent 400 years, in fact. In addition...
In addition?
It's where Subaru told Betty to choose me, I suppose. It's not a place that can be so easily forgotten, in fact.
Huh?
The unexpected words had Subaru's eyes go round, and Beatrice turned her face away. But even from behind her reddened ears, a clear sign of embarrassment was plain to see.
Saying words that would embarrass you of your own volition? Just what are you trying to achieve?
Betty remembers everything about the Forbidden Library. That is proof of memories of Subaru. Is all, in fact.
You are too cute!
Yeah, I suppose.
At the sudden declaration of affection, Subaru gently began stroking Beatrice's head. Beatrice's feline cry gradually softened, and Subu saw an expression filled with satisfaction. The scene had Anastasia and the others glance at them with amazement.
Alright, enough of the idle chatter. Let's go check out the library now.
What a sight for sore eyes. It really seems like a gentle exchange between a parent and child, doesn't it?
It'd at least be considered brother and sister, wouldn't it?
Sticking his tongue out at Anastasia's opinion, Subaru straightened up and glanced about at his surroundings. Where Subaru and the others were located was the center of a stone-carved circular room. The structure itself was the center of the tower, and the expansive design created a feeling of being left without boundaries. Aside from the large spiral staircase, the 5th and 6th floors had no particularly striking features to fill the vast empty spaces, and the 4th floor was in fact divided into several rooms, what Shala had described as a versatile nest. Yet, the 3rd floor filled the same empty space with rows upon rows of shelves, each tall shelf crammed with countless books. The circular room was designed to form small floors. Subaru's group was located on the lowest, surrounded by layers raising outward. The books were so numerous as to be uncountable. Beatrice's forbidden library was also fairly crowded, but in terms of pure number of books, this place was by far victorious.
It'd be nice if you could search with a computer to find the book you want.
Within the Forbidden Library, Betty knew exactly where every book was, in fact.
Amazing! You're a genius!
After praising Beatrice's little show of smugness, Subaru approached the bookshelf beside him. Looking over, Amelia and the others drew close as well, although it didn't seem as if anyone felt daring enough to pluck a book from the shelf.
Wasn't Subaru the one that had solved the riddle? Maybe something would go awry if it's not Subaru that touches it.
Indeed. Anything could happen. But if the one who answered the riddle were the only person allowed to read anything, wouldn't it be weird that Amelia Town and the rest were even allowed into the library?
Ah, right. And it seems like entering this place is akin to permission.
That's what I think. Hey, Amelia Town!
At Subaru's theory, Amelia, who had kept her guard up, nodded in understanding. Then, letting down her guard, she immediately pulled the book from the shelf. Then she began flipping through the contents of the book, right before Subaru, who had been struck speechless.
It's just a normal book. Subaru, what is it?
No, nothing. It's just that Amelia Town's boldness was shocking, but quickly became mesmerizing. I only said what I thought of it. That's all.
Amelia's conscientious expression bore a confusion that left Subaru speechless. With complicated feelings, Subaru brought a hand up to cover his face with a,
It constantly feels like that piercing gaze of trust is painful.
You built it up bit by bit, is how it is. Furthermore, that you solved the riddle of Taygeta, which no one else could, is fact. Such an achievement's undeniable.
That was like a blind cat swatting a dead mouse. That I solved it was just a coincidence.
At Subaru's bewilderment, Julie shrugged his shoulders, the knight's words causing Subaru to avert his gaze. Amelia's faith, Beatrice's closeness, Julie's sincerity, each one of them did not align to Subaru's expectations, and each of those words conveyed an inexplicable sense of wariness. Subaru often doubted that kind of value being placed upon himself.
Just as Amelia-san said, it's just an ordinary book. It's not some strange object that you set your body on fire right after touching it.
What the book is made of is difficult to discern, as is its age. As for the content...
Inspired by Amelia's proactive attitude, one by one the others too began picking up books. Even so, to skim the entirety of this myriad of books was hardly such an easy task. Anastasia and Julius both examined the book's composition and binding and the like.
Bayako, what do you think?
It seems that the composition of the books is identical, I suppose. Only the titles are completely different, in fact. This is Noa Libertas. This is Libre Fermi. They don't seem to follow any particular pattern in their ordering either, I suppose.
Her librarian soul dripping blood, Beatrice expressed dissatisfaction with the one who had arranged the book so haphazardly. The absence of any memory of her sorting through the forbidden library suggests that it had been organized long ago. Putting aside Beatrice's indignation for now, Subaru suddenly knows something about the spines of the books.
The titles of these books. Could it be that they're all people's names?
Seems like it. This is Palma Ule, and here's Coyote?
All these names from the past are not familiar ones. Not that I hold any wealth of knowledge, but none of these are names that I know. Of course, looking around more closely might yield some kind of discovery.
If you don't recognize them, it's likely that no one here would.
Whether that was a true or mere humbleness, of late Julius had been revealing more of the historical pedigree of his house. If these names were not in his knowledge, perhaps they were just randomly given ones. Subaru also offhandedly grabbed a book to leaf through. The text written inside was composed of the common iglyphs, roglyphs, and hoglyphs, the unique language of this world. Had it been a gospel, no one aside from the owner could be capable of reading it, and only text composed of what seemed to be pictographs would have been visible, but this book did not seem to be such petty tricks. Since the text was minuscule, and the content itself was too boring, it would not register in his brain even if read properly, a common issue with uninteresting books.
Once again, check with Anastasia-san. Are there any names you recognize?
No.
Subaru sought confirmation from Anastasia, of course, rather than from Anastasia herself. It would be better to say he sought confirmation of Echidna, who held control over her flesh. Echidna should be in possession of more knowledge than Julius was, and though it was possible that she was concealing the truth, from the very beginning the Subaru spirit had not shown any hints of hostility. Believing her answer for now, Subaru began to feel rather impotent.
Out of tricks already. A tree hidden in a forest? It could be that a vitally important book is hidden somewhere in these shelves. This is really troublesome.
Giving up halfway through won't do. Facing an unsolvable problem means that you have to try even harder. Work hard.
Faced with a vast number of books, Subaru, who had already felt uneasy, had his soul salted by exhaustion. Amelia raised a tiny fist for Subaru to cheer him on. Striking a pose increasingly more accurate to the encouraging one Amelia had, Subaru turned to face the shelf. The titles of these books all contained unfamiliar names. At the very least, should he come across a name he recognized, he would look into it with care. Thinking so, Subaru brushed his fingers along a row, book by book.
Huh?
Suddenly, Subaru's fingers came to rest on one spine. Grabbing the spine of the book, then easing it out from the stuffed bookshelf, the book's title was a name that Subaru was cognizant of. Subaru, having reflexively grabbed the book, flipped it open. Then the familiar name of the book met his eyes, and afterward it came. A dimming of the consciousness. A woman. A soul woman existed. A woman so young, no one would hesitate to call her woman. Humble clothes upon a skinny figure, green hair along with skin tanned in the shine of days. The woman seemed to be at an age to be called a little girl. However, her heart was commanded by unending distress. Unable to find the answer for it by any means, for the woman, it was an inborn argument. Ever more troubling her mind with it was the unending supreme argument. It was logic omnipresent in the world, the contrast of white and black, namely, of good and evil. Righteousness, deeds of error. Though there were innumerable choices in the world, all deeds would eventually be decided to tilt towards either of those positive and negative poles. For the yet youthful woman, there's a reason to continue to anguish over that logic. It was inevitable for her. The one who divided the woman's world into white and black, good and evil, the righteousness and the sinners, was the woman's father. The woman's father decapitated the necks of sinners and made a living by delivering punishment appropriate for the errors. delivering the end of their life, the punishment suitable for their error, upon the sinners who had sinned, meant livelihood to her father.
Executioner.
The woman who had seen the actions of her father, who was named that, in the state of affairs of the execution site, before even the days of youth. The repulsive and cruel deeds, the death wails of the sinners granted quietus, the execution site ruled by blood and death. What made the woman witness death there was none other than her father's own will. Punishment cast upon the committed sins, evil deed met the result through the means of evil deeds. The father attempted to convey the rightful state of affairs he believed in, of the world's good and evil, as an executioner to the woman. Noble was her father's will, a pure ideology without question. However, keeping in mind the woman's youthfulness, it seemed to be conceded. It was yet too early to seek ideals. The woman witnessed the deaths of many with her own eyes, scented the odor of blood, and seared the punishment cast upon sinners into her memory. As a result, the woman, before she could study the value of life in depth and the principle of life and death, learnt punishments befitting the sins. Benevolence gave birth to good cause. Wrongdoings called upon roots of evils. The souls of sinners were corrupted, worthy of punishment. Comprehending the teachings of her fathers through that interpretation, the woman desired the rightful state of affairs for punishment befitting the sins. For that she sought something which would become her guiding principle, the balance of virtue which would establish evil deeds as evil. However, the balance which the woman pursued existed nowhere within her sphere of search. The good and evil affairs had no simple answer, but the correction, sin, and punishment possessed many factors determining them. However, the woman, yet youthful and unknowing of compromise or resignation, did not come to a halt. She must obtain the answer. She must conceive the balance befitting good and evil in her heart. She must present the answer to the unresolving doubt present within the interior of her chest. Days of agony continued, however. She gained the answer suddenly, as if a blessing had been granted to her from the heavens above. Shattering her father's vine cup, the woman was greatly frightened by the sin she had committed herself. Preparing herself to face beheading, the woman confessed her own sin to her father.
Speaking up your own sins. And
said the woman's father while expressing a smile, forgiving the woman's error. At the smile of her father and the sensation of his palm patting her head, the youthful woman came to understand. The balance for measuring the weight of the committed sin was nothing else, but present within the heart of the sinner himself. Even if nobody bore witness to it, the heart of the sinner himself was cognizant of their sin. Good and evil she did not understand. They were complicated. Corrections had no certain guideliness. They could not be found. However, the consciousness of the sin was within oneself. There was no standards for punishment befitting the sins. However, the consciousness of the sins deserving of punishment was within oneself. The woman understood. She was satiated and finally obtained the balance. Remaining ignorant of the value of life and the principle of life and death of people, the youthful woman disclosed punishment befitting the sins. Under the light of days, the woman walked, learning through observation from her executioner father, for delivering punishment befitting the sins, for disclosing the hearts of those sinners who had been judged worthy of punishment. For the woman, the division of good and evil, correction, sincerity, and falsehood into two halves was the natural order of things. At the question the youthful woman would pose, some smiled, some were troubled, some were bewildered. However, the result of the answer to the woman's question was the same for all. The sins worthy of punishment lie within themselves. She looked around. Nobody was there. There no longer was anyone present here, aside from the sinners who had received punishment. Trampling over the people who had been torn into tiny fragments, and finally over the fragments of her own father, for the sake of fulfilling the long-standing desire bestowed upon her, The woman continued walking further, seeking sins worthy of punishment. The Witch of Pride questioned sins, delivered punishment, and cast judgment upon sinners. Upon seeing the beginnings of the witch he had recognized, Subaru's consciousness returned alongside pain. Subaru's consciousness was ejected from the book with a snapping sound, accompanied by a feeling of having blood drained dry on one hand and a feeling of being externally torn into bits on the other. Pain resonating not within the head or body, but the soul. The soul entering the book, then being painfully torn away from it.
Subaru!
At the same instant that a cry came from beside him, his wrist took a fierce strike. That was Amelia knocking his wrist with a karate chop. Subaru's hand shook under the impact, and the book he held fell to the ground. It landed spread face down on the ground, and Subaru stumbled into the bookshelf.
Are you okay? Just now, you looked really uncomfortable.
Somehow, it's over, right? I don't get it either.
Nodding at Amelia supported him with unease in her eyes. Subaru caught his breath. Although he had not done any sprinting, his heartbeat was in a frenzy. Pressing a hand against his chest to feel the jumping of his heartbeat, Subaru breathed deep. His gaze swiveled around, finally landing on Amelia.
Is everything fine?
Gazing upon Amelia Tan's face puts me at ease. Could you give me a hand?
All right. What happened?
Accepting Subaru's flattering words, Amelia supported his shoulder and asked. As she queried, Beatrice reached a hand towards the book on the ground.
Now, your expression grew odd after touching this book, I suppose.
Wait! Beatrice! Don't touch it!
Huh?
Wanting to call Beatrice to a halt as she reached for the book, she had taken it into her lap before he could. Casting her gaze downward, Beatrice read the book's title aloud under Subaru's furious gaze.
Typhon. Is this the name of someone Subaru knows, I suppose?
It is. Could it be that you...
At Beatrice's question, Subaru wanted to ask, could it be that you don't know? However, whether her answer would be in the affirmative or negative was already obvious, and Subaru frowned as he considered what should be said next. In that period, Beatrice had already opened the book to check its contents.
Idiot!
Idiot is a rather rude thing to say, in fact. There's nothing special about this book. It's just the same as the others, I suppose.
Beatrice would have had the same shocking experience that Subaru had, although that was what had been expected. This girl had no reaction whatsoever to the book's contents. She disappointingly shoved the book back at Subaru.
However, Subaru hasn't read any of the other books. Is how it seems, in fact.
Right. But why is it just me?
Could it be that, just like the riddle of the room, only Subaru can understand it? Or that it only works for Subaru who solved the riddle?
If that's so, that personality just seems more and more wicked, huh?
Considering Amelia's words, Subaru shook his head as an unpleasant hunch came over him. In any case, he had no courage to peruse the book that had been shoved at him once more. Swimming through his mind all too vividly was a first-hand experience of that woman's memories. The sense, taste of the air, tread on solid ground, as well as the weight of shattering a life. To awaken after such immersion in the memory of a person was truly a miracle. It felt as if drinking down another person's life. The terror and disgust beyond imagining had come into existence through experience.
Subaru, where is this Typhon?
It would be hard to explain properly. Or rather, it may not be so hard if it's Amelia Tan. maybe you saw her in the tomb?
Tomb?
Upon hearing that word, Amelia and Beatrice froze simultaneously. The tomb was, to Subaru, in addition to Amelia and Beatrice, a place laden with significance. Thus, considering the witches' tea party that had held in that ancient tomb, the two other, knowing of Typhon, would not be so odd. That said, perhaps Echidna would not have been so candid with Amelia, and as for Beatrice, she had probably known a different Echidna than Subaru had.
Typhon was one of the historical witches. The Witch of Pride, who looked like Bearco, a lolly with dark skin. However, she was a child who could reify innocently cruel words.
Hearing Subaru's explanation, Amelia and Beatrice both shook their heads after considering. It seemed Echidna's display of witches had been reserved especially for Subaru. Although it had just been to make use of Subaru, there had indeed been such preparation put into it.
Innocently cruel. Huh.
As he spoke, Subaru recalled that he only had been a brief period of contact with Typhon himself. Although it had not occurred in the physical world, the sensation of his arms and legs being shattered by her was unforgettable. Although it had been subsequently fixed, the impact of his limbs being taken had still hit at full force. However, after catching a glimpse of her abnormal origin through reading, the reason for such behaviors could be explained. Of course, to instantly understand the complex and nuanced reasoning was no easy feat.
In any case, that book I read just now was that child named Typhon's memories? Life? Origin? In summary, it was the experience of her entire life. Hardly something easy to come to terms with.
It's clear from seeing Subaru's reaction. Experiencing the memory of another. This is a feeling more and more like the tomb's trials.
In that case, it was just a struggle with your own memories. Well, hardly anything so difficult.
Right. An easy victory.
Denying any sobbing cries, countless failures, one upon another, body and mind collapsing under pressure, Subaru and Amelia both nodded and chose not to mention them. As she rolled her eyes at the pair's attitudes, Beatrice wiped at the book's stains.
A book showing experiences of another's memories. In other words, it's a way of accessing the past, I suppose. In that case, what we need to know is likely contained in the library.
Bearco, have you thought of something?
Hearing Beatrice's murmurs, Subaru rose and prepared to ask her for her thoughts. However, before Subaru had a chance to speak, someone else's voice rang out.
Oh.
The sound had come from the direction of Julius's group, who had been examining the other bookshelves. Following the direction of the cry was the sight of Julius kneeling on the ground with a book in hand. From beside him, an alarmed Anastasia shook the knight's shoulder, snatching the book away.
Julius? Julius, pull yourself together. Can you hear my voice?
Anastasia? Sama?
It's me. Good. Slowly. Deep breaths. Are you fine?
In precisely the same way Subaru had just been, Julius's awareness returned to the present. Gazing at Julius's form that was elegant even in weariness, relief was shown in Anastasia's expression. Calling out, "Is everything okay?" Oh, that's... Calling, "Is everything okay?" Subaru dashed toward the pair.
Is your head spinning after reading a difficult book? I get it.
Certainly. Of late, I have not read anything. A deplorable state for a knight who must be versed in civil affairs and warfare. Ought to learn from you, who managed to solve the riddles with such ease.
Such words, delivered with such smoothness.
If he had felt what Subaru had, his spirit would have borne quite the burden. As such, that he could maintain such elegance afterwards was just uncool. At the extraneous thoughts contained in Subaru's heart, Amelia knocked at the back of his head with a karate chop.
It won't do to say naughty things on reflex. Julius, is everything really fine?
My sincerest apologies for having worried you. Such an exaggerated reaction truly cannot be excused. Even so, this is truly an unpleasant experience for the heart.
Hiding his internal weariness, Julius's response to Amelia was elegant. However, a thin film of sweat coating his forehead was evidence of the shock that could not be concealed. Anastasia stood up on her tiptoes, pressing a handkerchief on Julius's forehead, while Julius hurriedly lowered his head with an air of consternation.
Although stubbornness is a boy's nature, speak up if you're feeling poorly, won't ya? If you insist on doing something beyond you, y'all cause trouble for everyone else too.
Right. My gratitude for your attention.
Mm-hmm. It's just as Anastasia-san says. Right, Subaru?
Oh, I don't know why you need me to agree! That's how it is!
The exchange between master and vassal of two factions coming to a close, everyone's attention turned toward the book in Anastasia's hands. Julius had looked over the contents of the book, and perhaps had had the same experience as Subaru. Looking at the spine, the title inscribed upon it was...
Balaroy Temiglyph. Someone you know?
It's not a name I've heard. For certain.
Subaru glanced at Amelia, who read the title aloud from beside him, then responded confidently. Indeed, Subaru was confident in his excellent memory. When it came to remembering relationships in this world, from Arlen Village to the uncle who owned in a fruit stall in the royal capital, not a single one was missing. Contained within the list of memories was no such name as Balaroy. However, Anastasia swiveled her head after hearing the name, wearing a thoughtful expression.
That name's one I've heard. Perhaps... that's right. Maybe... right. Isn't that the name of a general of the Wallachian Empire?
More precisely, he is a former general.
At Anastasia's answer born from vague recollections, Julius added a supplement. Hearing such words, everyone would guess that was someone who Julius had a relationship with. Only the distance of that relationship had Subaru frowning.
Wallachia? Is that the country to the south? You even know a general from there?
Once more, he is a former general. And is that so odd? I am, after all, one of the royal guards. Since Lagunica and the Wallachian Empire neighbor each other, it should not be unexpected that I one-sidedly know the name.
So, that's the case. Someone known one-sidedly. Huh.
Accepting Julius' explanation, Subaru nodded. Then he exhaled lightly and suddenly reached a hand out to snatch Balaroy's book from Anastasia.
Natsuki-kun?
Sorry to startle you, but there's something that ought to be checked.
Having had the book snatched from her, Anastasia widened her eyes. Subaru checked the cover of the book, then flipped the book open with a snap to read its contents. In that moment, Subaru had prepared for the realization of living vicariously that may have followed. However, he also considered the idea that perhaps would not happen. The correct answer proved to be the latter.
I also tried to read the book after one-sidedly hearing the name, but nothing happened.
Subaru.
Right now, what matters most between us is trust. No, the trust you and I share wouldn't be non-existent, and only I had thought it was there.
What a horrible way of putting it.
Towards Subaru, who glared fiercely at him, Julius closed his eyes and answered thus. He stroked his bangs as he spoke.
Compared with the people here, I currently have no one else that I can trust more. The support of Anastasia-sama and yourself, who provides what even Reinhard cannot. I would of course accept.
To be spoken of like that can't help but feel disgusting somehow.
Saying so makes my tongue itch as well.
Subaru scratched his nose, and Julius continued to finger at his bangs with eyes closed. Then he loosed a sigh, and proceeded to formally bow to Anastasia and Amelia.
I apologize for my thoughtlessly offensive behavior, Anastasia-sama, Amelia-sama. Just now I allowed my own feelings to cloud my answer. In these circumstances, the contents of the book ought to be shared by us all, and so my behavior is unforgivable.
Whether or not you'll be forgiven depends on mine and Amelia-san's tempers. What do you think? What I want to say has already been said by Subaru and Anastasia-san. So think about what you should do now. And that's all.
After Amelia and Anastasia readily accepted his apology, Julius once again bowed low. Subaru knew exactly what lay within his heart. After making a mistake, taking mitigation from those who accepted an apology was a weakness that could be forgiven. Subaru well understood this feeling, which he had experienced before himself.
Balaroy Temeglyph, a general of the Valachian Empire, is a deceased man. And the one who took his life is none other than myself.
To have killed another country's general. It's quite a shock to take in.
Anastasia-sama is... No, please forget what you just heard.
Huh?
At Julius's frankly described recollections, Anastasia narrowed her eyes. Based on Julius's reaction just now, it seemed as if it had been something he had already shared with Anastasia before he had disappeared from memory, and before Echidna had assumed control of her body. Naturally, Anastasia was the first to know was unsurprising, and instead Subaru and Amelia were quite shocked.
That's... If what I recall from my studies is correct, I know that the relationship between Lagunica and Wallachia is really poor, but...
Shouldn't killing a general of the Empire have started a war or something?
At the pair's candid and simple questions, Julius's expression became more assured as he nodded lightly.
This was the result of a very delicate situation. Reinhard and Ferris were also dragged into it. To put in short, the general had prepared to launch a revolt in the Empire, and I had met him face to face and stayed in the Empire for a brief period.
So, those two were there too? Isn't Reinhard banned from being exported?
Since the Emperor of the Empire wished to meet him, he was granted permission. Moreover, do you not think those words, exporting Reinhard, are a little off?
Ah, just a slip of the tongue. What else should I call it? Smuggling?
Something that could not be exported? Such phrasing was not wrong in usage. In truth, after having felt Reinhard's large-defying combat ability in Pristella, it was not difficult to imagine that Reinhard would be a nightmare for the forces of other countries to contend with. Not allowed to approach the border was a perfectly understandable stipulation in international treaties.
In short, that general's name was Balaroy Temeglyph. My apologies. Due to the sensitive nature of the issue, details of the incident cannot be shared. And in addition, the memory is painful to myself as well.
So, it's something that can't be discussed openly, huh? Got it. I'll keep my mouth shut.
Understood. I'll also keep it a secret.
With Julius's circumstances clarified, Subaru and Amelia swore themselves to secrecy on this shared confidence. And what allowed Julius to live vicariously was also clear.
It makes sense now, in fact. The books here are books that allow a reader to experience the life of someone familiar, I suppose.
I had the witch, and Julius had the general. Sounds about right.
It feels as if I heard words I can't quite let go of. Natsuki-kun, are you acquainted with a witch? They're no good, such relationships. They're all related to the witch cult.
I'm beyond scared myself, but the relationship with that one is shallow, so please rest assured. Recently there hasn't been much contact to be a bother.
Subaru shrugged at Anastasia's words. However, the expression of Amelia and Beatrice, and even Julius, looked as if they had just eaten something sour. The unexpected reaction left Subaru frowning, as Anastasia deeply sighed and continued.
The meaning of the books in this library seems clear now. To share it, I've got to say something scary. Is that okay?
Hearing that is really off-putting. But what do you want to say?
Every book in this library is inscribed with a name, yes?
Saying this fact that everyone knew, Anastasia looked at Subaru for permission to continue. As Subaru nodded in assent, he thought that what would be coming next were those scary words. Then, Anastasia leveled a figure at Balaroy's and Typhon's book, currently held by Beatrice.
The Empire's general and Natsuki-kun's witch friend.
Hey! Not a friend here!
The common point with the Witch Friends book is that the book of someone's deceased.
Having Typhon be referred to as deceased was actually a little off-putting, but the place where the witch's tea party of the tomb had been was no more, so she could be thought of as completely gone. As for Echidna, since many doubts yet rested on Eridna, Subaru could not yet feel at ease about her. Setting aside Subaru's eternal thoughts for now, Anastasia spread her hands to gesture at the entirety of the library as she continued.
The books here include the names of every single person from past to present in this world, right? If so, to find one specific book, how'd long it take?
Correction. The one who had made this library did not have a poor personality. Rather, they had the worst. And that's the chapter.
Yay!
Woo!
Huzzah.
Huzzah!
How's
I'm sure the details of this chapter will never be relevant again.
Yeah, there's no way that any of this is actual foreshadowing or anything. It's not
Yay!
like almost every single line of that seemingly inane chapter was important.
Just fluffy filler.
We
Don't
love some
read the
fluffy
side
filler.
stories, the chapter. That's what this was.
Man, I can't believe my line got cut off because my Wi-Fi decided to act up.
You got hit by the
same thing I did.
Yeah,
Wi-Fi
so
isekai.
the only the only reason it even happened is because I moved my entire setup and I didn't plug the Ethernet. I forgot to do that. And
Oof.
Frick.
It happens.
Classic mistake.
I am so disappointed. But otherwise, amazing chapter.
Putchy putchy!
Creepy shit, eh? Like, being able to summarize someone's life's experience that you even could just know as an acquaintance is quite terrifying.
Like you met them once.
Book of the Dead.
No, he met her
entire life.
twice.
I'm
Two
sorry,
times.
twice.
Could you imagine? Oh my gosh.
So
This
I'm
is real.
I'd pay
I
to
did
not
have a-
have mine.
right. I did have a point of contention here. Did Subaru see Typhon's entire life, or did Amelia cut it short?
So
I think
from
it
the
cut
way
it
the way it's explained, I feel like whatever she did, he saw most of it, or at least close to all of it, and her severing the connection before it was complete did something to interrupt the full process of what that should do.
Yeah.
Because I was always under the impression that reading these books was like instantaneous.
Really?
Well,
That
I
took,
feel
some time.
especially with immediate strength. I don't know if it's instantaneous, but it's very quick. I imagine Amelia very quickly acts because she sees Subaru's eyes like glaze over, and she's like, "What the fuck?" What?
Huh.
Also, for all those people that theorize that Flugel was Subaru or whatever, very funny and interesting to learn. Flugel does not self-deprecate, unlike Subaru. Therefore, there's no fucking way in hell that Subaru is Flugel.
There we go.
Exactly.
Yep. Your own character flaw determines and ends a theory. Dead.
Yeah, your defining character tick.
Zoc, I would do the exact same. I'd be in here scouring for her book specifically. It has so much answers in it.
Oh.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm kind of glad that Subaru doesn't do stuff like that though, because I always feel like that either raises a flag or ends badly.
Mhm.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
would just end up in him dying harder, I feel.
Subaru,
It's
whilst
always
being
fun
a
to where he
content
is.
and simple person with little ambition, it doesn't always work out for him, but in a lot of instances where like the weird eldritch esoteric shit comes in, I think works out well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like his core, like one of his core beliefs or motivation like hasn't changed since Arc 2 or 1, which was just to have like people like accept him and be happy around him.
Mhm.
And that's just hasn't changed, which is great, honestly.
And
Mhm.
like to posit a deeper question, like even if you just know someone very, very like shortly, is it not like a weird, moral and complicated question to consider even reading their book in the first place? It could be considered quite like disrespectful, right? Or like you're seeing things that you shouldn't be seeing.
I mean, it's definitely a disruption of privacy. It's one of those things where people will be like, "Oh, well, I mean, they're dead, so they can't complain." But
Risk
also
in
one of
this world.
It
Yeah.
literally just exactly goes against the principle of let the dead lie, you know, let the dead rest
Yeah.
in peace.
True. Also, it's one of those things where it's like you're also still interpreting it through an abstraction. Like you're experiencing it like the emotions, but it's always going to be filtered through your experience, you know? So like even if you get everything, you know everything, your judgment of that situation might not be the correct judgment. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
like if you're going through Typhon's book here, like you're not going to be thinking that she was in the right to have wiped out her village when she
Yeah,
absolutely thought
exactly.
that she was.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because you're not if you're going through someone's entire life, you're seeing literally like since they were a child, right? And you're an adult reading their book. So obviously your thought process is going to be different and your values are going to be different.
It's
Yeah.
also, I think, a matter of compatibility. If you're reading a book of someone who has like a very similar, not even life to you, but like way they see the world, I think that could be quite dangerous because then it could kind of like slip in a bit more there, right? Of like, how do I differentiate these experiences? Whereas, especially for Subaru, who is so different to Typhon as a person, like it's probably very easy for him to be like, okay, that's just the weird shit was going on with her, right?
It's like
Yeah.
watching a serial killer documentary and you just never get you never feel sympathetic for them.
Yeah, it's like you're stuck in their POV and in their thoughts, but you're like, huh, this is weird.
It's like, this is still messed up, bro.
Wow, I'm beating someone
Oh,
to death.
this somehow gave me
this
even
is
less
not, like,
sympathy for
I
you.
wouldn't do this. It's just like this sucks.
Then, but it also, I think, contextually gives us a really interesting look into the world building and how, like, we were told a lot about how terrifying the witches were in Arc 4, right? But I think this section of Typhon stuff really kind of, like, proves that witches typically are not a very good thing for the world in general, right?
Yeah. And everyone reacting to him going, yeah, so I know a witch. Just going,
Ew.
bro?
Bro, why are you always putting out those witch cult vibes, bruv?
Like, bro, fuck you mean you knew a witch? Like,
Yeah. I mean, at this point, what do you say to Subaru? Like, hey, can we have a talk?
it's like, I mean, he's
for real?
beating up so many Sin Archbishops at the point, so I'd be like, you know what? He can do whatever the fuck he wants, I guess.
To
But
me, it'd be like it's cool that you're beating up Sin Archbishops, but like, what's the deal? You know?
you know, what's the deal with
And
you,
why can't you
man?
tell us? That's one of
I,
the things that I actually wonder. Like, they all really trust Subaru, but like, they're never like, okay, but really, why can't you? Like, that feels kind of realistic. Like, okay, Subaru, please, this time, tell us the truth. You know?
I
And he's
think
like, I'm sorry.
We're gonna attack. Okay,
a lot
yeah,
of it also comes
I
down
trust
to
you, but, like,
them.
how do you know?
They have always like questioned Subaru on why he knows certain things or like how he kind of interacts with certain things in a strange way. But because they've always been met with a non-answer or not knowing, I think that it's weird to say, but they've gotten used to it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just a blind trust.
I think the assumption for most people is that he was either attacked by the witches cult as a child or was
Yeah.
part of them for a time but has left.
Mhm.
And most people
Either a reformed member or a victim.
Yeah. I imagine
Also,
most
I
would
just
skew on the side of victim on that scale.
Yeah.
I did a bit of quick math here as well. If we just assume that these 4 countries that are in this world are the only ones that have ever existed here, then there should be approximately 2.4 billion books in this room for how many people who have ever died.
Well, you know,
Holy shit.
it's a huge room that never stops. And, you know, I think one of the things that's very funny about that is that there is a half of the world that existed beforehand. Like,
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like,
How thick do you think the volume is?
Yeah.
They all apparently look the same, so I'm going to assume that they are the size of a light novel.
Yeah,
Jesus.
they're like an average sized kind of like book or tome. It's just the kind of like creepy like black book with just the name of person on title.
Yeah. Death Note, but instead of Death Note, it says your name.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
if you
Very
go back
personal death note.
if you go back far enough to before languages and writing were invented, do you think it just has like scratch marks or like a picture of their face?
I
on
would
the
have I would have
sides?
said
It's
it
like
just says an
cuneiform.
oog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oog.
Erg.
My speculation would be probably not, because I have a feeling there is a cap on where this could be.
Yeah, I feel like there's a cutoff. There's a
Do you
time
think
Yeah.
that's
cutoff.
maybe when it was made?
Yeah,
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 Has to be.
yeah.
I think
because
that's likely.
I mean, thinking about how the functionality of how this library would work, it has to be connected to something, right?
Yeah, it would
and-
have to start filtering in exactly when it was made, because if not, then like the process of it returning back to Odlagna and stuff like that would be like die, pass through this place, inscribed, go back down to Odlagna, recycle. Right.
Yeah,
Sort of-
and I
Mhm.
don't. Wasn't it stated somewhere that Oddloggen was like created at some point?
Any discussions on that get too far into spoiler territory for the
Okay.
stream.
Okay.
It's hard to-
Yeah.
hard to explain.
Ooh.
Ooh,
What I will mention here, though, that I think is kind of interesting, right, is like it when the chapter's ending with, man, this guy's personality sucks. It's like it's really hard to understate how much of a dick Flugel is from just even like not knowing him, but how he set this up. It's cruel and it's sadistic, right? It's like, what
It's
the hell?
It's the second chapter in a row where it's just been, man, Flugel's a dick at the end of the chapter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
That is assuming that Flugel designed all parts of the tower, though, and not just
Mhm.
the examination.
True.
But at least from the impression we get from Shala, that seems to be the case, right? At least from our current knowledge. I don't know if
I think Subaru is just making the assumption for that.
that's fair. It
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
There's definitely other people who like books.
load of interesting
different people.
concepts introduced here. I'm sure they will be not relevant at all going forward.
Oh yeah, no.
Yep.
Why would they?
It's like a slice of life episode from an anime. It's just like, nope, this is just how it usually is.
Oh, I know that
Beach
person. Let me read
world.
their book. Maybe we'll get a beach episode.
Hell yeah.
Either beach or hot
It's-
spring. Or
it's
the
the
town
Diego
shopping
episode.
episode.
They're replacing the fucking burned down library with a brand new one. Like house flipping.
Oh, hell
But
yeah.
library flipping.
Also, it's one last thing I'll mention here, which is just kind of interesting. If you're considering this from the perspective of, oh yeah, Flugel will set this up for an isekai person to come sort this out, don't you think that this in itself is quite a useless thing for an isekai person? Because not only, one, are they going to be a human that's lived a normal lifespan, they're not going to know enough people, typically, for them to be able to effectively use anything like this. It just kind of seems flawed, right?
Unless it's, I mean, granted, if we assume that this room does have all the people who have ever died, or at least all the people who have died in the last 400 years, which based on our own history is 94% of people who have ever died have lived the last 400 years. 2 people found someone they knew within minutes of being up here. Like
Yeah.
there's some sort of connection where it is guiding
Yeah.
you or showing you where
Like
you need
the
to
library
be.
itself is almost recognizing something.
Mhm.
Yeah, otherwise it'd be like straight up impossible to find anyone you know.
Like when
Mhm.
when you look away, it like rearranges itself to get more relevant tomes closer to you.
Exactly.
It could
I mean,
even
are
be
the
like
names on
it's
this
just it's
fine?
not very apparent, but it just draws you to a particular book that would be relevant to you in a way, like a weird
Well,
like
because Beatrice
Sixth
mentioned
Sense.
that the layout of it was absolute trash, so
yeah.
it probably is
True.
rearranging itself.
It might also just have some sort of connection of, like, oh, this is Typhon's books. The ones nearby might be, like her dad is the book immediately next door to it, or
hmm
other ones. So
Yeah,
it looks
it'd
like
be
a
like-
random connection, but it's just based on, like, who knew who and around where.
I also
it's like a-
thought it was like when you
Time of
died.
death?
Like,
Yeah, I thought it was time of death initially.
yeah, you get slotted and you appear when you die. That's why it's so random.
There is no the afterlife is this library.
Yeah. Nothing else.
Everyone just becomes a book when they die.
You are now
I don't
That's
want to
it.
become a book.
And you just solemnly wait to be
Get
dead.
dusty and
I don't
dustier
wanna be
over
read.
time.
No, don't read me.
I don't want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that being said, shall we move on to our next chapter?
Yes.
Next to chapter.
Yes.
Do we have our narrator ready?
Yes.
Amazing. I am almost ready as well.
I wouldn't do that. It's like, now we're going to sing narration. Hope you're ready for this. Surprise!
Could you imagine?
Jesus
Everything's
Christ,
getting
man.
copyright claimed today.
Everything is
Musical episode.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yes, we should
ReZero
Oops, that's
musical.
too much. Now we've lost our channel.
Everything is awesome.
Banished to the
Chopper.
Shadow Realm.
Copyright strike. All right.
Right.
We all ready?
Hi. Okay, ready.
Yeah.
Right.
Ready?
I wasn't even needed, so it works out.
So wait, hold. Tail, are you doing the
Waiting.
entire first section then? Because I think you grabbed Minerva, didn't you?
Yeah, but that's like
Oh.
way down there. I don't mind it. I can do it. I contain multitudes.
Okay. So I believe
Yay!
she is
I got
woman
it.
in
You're
this
woman.
section here.
She is woman.
Woman. Okay, got it.
Factual statement.
Actual.
No lies told. All right. Arc 6, Chapter 24. Wicked Examiner. A woman, a sole woman, existed. The woman was always emotional. The woman was always crying. Sensitive to pain, she was constantly weeping. The sole reason for her grief was that she could not forgive her own length of strength. All around her was always a world full of strife, of violence, of war. No matter how much she pleaded, no matter how much she cried out, no matter how much she tried, no matter how much she wept and sobbed, the sorrow never ended. Thus, she began to curse fate. While cursing it over and over and over, she noticed this fate. It was pointless, no matter how many tears she shed. And when she realized, she began wishing for something else. Raw power. To obtain power that would let her throw all away, that would let her overwhelm all others, she struggled to her limits and ran, heading towards the power she so desired. She was not chasing after the power to harm, nor the power to take. She had no use for that. She chased power no one could catch up to, which she believed she could use to put an end to violence. The woman who cried so much wanted the power to cease crying. She knew that if she remained powerless, she could never stop a fight where power was pitted against power. Her voice remained silent. Her wishes went unfulfilled. Even if her own sorrows were kept distant, sadness still clouded the sky. How could they be okay? How could they hurt one another? How could they think to live with those scars? How could they not realize they had other ways to live? Children are crying. The elderly are crying. Men are crying. Women are crying. Everyone is crying. Then why? To stop exactly that, she solely desired for power. Training herself, she endured all pains to finally obtain an ironclad will. Eventually, she found the end of her path, the pinnacle of strength where none else could reach. Standing on the battlefield, she shouted to stop the fight, to overwhelm all others with her own, to crush all grief, shatter all malice, and to stop the endless stream of tears before her. She struggled to her utmost, punching those who brandished their swords, kicking those who flung magic, breaking those who bared their fangs. She pulverized all and any who came to seek battle. But the more the woman fought, the stronger became the swordsmen, the mages, and the bearer of fangs, ever increasing their numbers, as if she had entered a never-ending spiral of violence. No one knew how to save themselves other than to answer violence with violence. That was why, No one knew of a way to save themselves aside from victory in battle. Why? In the end, the woman herself, despite knowing this, also answered with violence. Lowering her fist that dripped crimson, she turned her blood-smeared face to the sky and wailed. The fighting would not stop. Her efforts, her hard work, all had been in vain. Neither others nor her own tears would stop flowing. Finally, in the chest of the woman who had been ceaselessly running, despair crept in. Dripping down her cheeks, tears overflowed. The tears that continuously streamed were not warm, but rather cold. The tears of someone powerless, drowning in despair. However, alongside them flowed out a different, deep emotion. Dyeing her heart pitch black, her vision red and her mind white, a tempest awakened within. Face still wet with tears, the woman came to know of that emotion. As she came to know its name, its origins, she came to understand it. She had not been shedding tears of sadness. She had merely been drowning in the madness of rage. People called that emotion fury. No, they called it wrath. Towards this world that forced others to tears, towards those who refused to stop fighting, towards the absurd unfairness that was the end of life. Let them have a taste of my iron fist. At some point, she stood up, wiped the dirt off her knees, and took off running. Diving into the fray of the still ongoing battle, she punched everyone's faces whilst shouting, "Stop fighting! Look at the sky! Feel the breeze! Smell the flowers! Live with your families and loved ones!" For the first time, the woman's voice swept unrest throughout the battlefield. Fists that could break apart the very earth, kicks that could cause the heavens to roar, all only to let others live. Wounds closed, screams silenced, and knees bent in the face of the spreading warmth as battle lost its meaning. Soon the voices that wept disappeared from the battlefield. Life returned to the mundane. Once the people's tears stopped, they felt gratitude towards her. They raised their voices, waved their hands, and smiled. However, the woman was suddenly no longer there. That was only natural. The woman still had things to do. She had no reason to turn back, no reason to stop walking. To fulfill her desire to create a world where no one would cry, where there would be no conflict, where no one would have to take from one another. She ran and kept running as she threw around her fists. Till the day everyone's tears ceased. Till the day the warm droplets rolling down her cheeks stopped. The Witch of Wrath, who had declared war on sadness itself, continued to run evermore. Yet again, after finding a Book of the Dead and gaining the knowledge it held, Subaru returned to reality. From within the confines of its bindings had poured out the life of the name it recorded, the many battlefields she had crossed through, and the conviction she once held when she had been alive, albeit all of it being only a drop in the ocean of her entire life. Even though he understood that.
That was heavy.
He felt as if a lump of dense, heavy lead was clogging up his chest. For humans, no matter who, a second was a second, a minute was a minute, a year was a year. There was no scale that could measure the weight of a life differently, and thus time flowed equally for all. Such a scale of time could not simply be contained within such flimsy paper, nor could it be transcribed from such a thing into the mind, no matter how special the technology. Still, even though he had simply touched it, Subaru had to clench his teeth to keep his mind, so as not to be swept away by the rush of memories that flowed in. The footprints of their lives that one left behind were indeed great and heavy.
Subaru, are you okay?
Yeah. I'm fine. Feeling okay. My head just took a spin, that's all.
That's not what feeling okay means.
Closing the book in hand, he returned it to the shelf as Amelia watched. Meeting her gaze with one eye closed, Super pointed to the book he just put back.
I found another one of the volumes of the witches' books. This time, well, it was one of the better witches, if that's possible. She was still a little weird, though.
The weird one? Sekhmet?
Hey, that's one of the weirdest of the bunch. Wait, you know Sekhmet?
Back at the Tomb of the Sanctuary, Amelia was supposed to have met Echidna in the witches' tea party, but Super had never asked if she had met the others. He had assumed Echidna made an exception for him, and so had not allowed Amelia to meet the other 5 witches. So it startled Subaru when Sekhmet's name slipped from her mouth. The Witch of Sloth, Sekhmet, was a woman with long, flowing magenta hair, owner of a deeply self-indulgent personality. Putting that and her demeanor aside, she was the most reasonable person among the witches.
If you know Sekhmet, what about the other witches? Like the one from this book, Minerva or something?
No, sorry. I didn't meet anyone else but Echidna and Sekhmet at the tomb. I didn't talk to Sekhmet at all that much either.
That's so. No, it's fine either way. Even if you did know her, this wasn't something you'd enjoy seeing, anyway.
Flashing a dry smile at Amelia, who hung her head, Super tapped the side of the bookshelf lightly. The shelves that stored the memories of the dead were made of a strange material. Under his palm was not the sensation of wood, nor of iron, and the bookcase itself refused to budge when pressed. Currently, while going through the library on the 3rd floor at Taygeta, Subaru and Co. came to understand that the numerous books that were stuffed into the bookshelves both recorded and invoked the memories of the dead. Despite that, they steadily continued their search for something very simple.
That aside, I wonder where the stairs to get to the upper floor are.
Right now, I have 0 leads on that.
Amelia tilted her head, deep in thought, while Subaru stood opposite, gazing downward as he sighed. At present, everyone was worrying their heads over, not on the question of the examination that laid beyond the 3rd floor at Taygeta, but on the location of the stairway that led to the 2nd floor. The white area where the monolith had been had faded, leaving Taygeta's great library. Thanks to that, they now had access to the memories of the dead, a concept that was surely very desirable, which was good and all, but...
Well, for now, we don't really have a use for this place.
To search for the information everyone wanted by digging through the memories of the dead would be a Herculean task, given its nature, as one could not even choose the memories they wanted to see, due to the absurd amount of time and even luck it would take. Neither of those could be spared at the moment. Time was obviously short, but Subaru did not have enough faith in his own luck as well, no matter how much he was blessed with it.
So, maybe the info we want is on the upper floors. It's supposed to be.
But there's no way to get upstairs. I tried to get on top of the bookcases, but it didn't work out.
You're pretty bold, aren't you, Emilia-tan?
Amelia pointed to the ceiling while recalling what she had tried to do. In the midst of their brain-racking search for the staircase that led to the upper floor, she had climbed up on top of the tallest bookcase there was in the library. The cases were arranged in a circular fashion, with small steps elevated to lead inward, placing the tallest bookcase at the center. However, even that had not reached the ceiling of the room. It should be noted that despite how Amelia had climbed the bookcase, and despite how her short skirt was waving about boldly during the action itself, her movements were such that nothing was visible underneath, strangely enough. When Subaru poked at it in a roundabout manner, Amelia simply touched the hem of her skirt and...
Puck taught me. What was that again? A lady must always act with beauty and grace. Was it? I'm always careful about it. Don't worry.
I feel kind of conflicted about this. I want to praise him, but I want to blame him too. Anyway.
Emilia had already failed in her attempt to physically force a way to the next floor. In other words, there was a hidden gimmick to the appearance of the staircase. This was not only limited to the appearance of the library, but extended to the process of going up further. If it were too hard, the challenger's motivation would likely fall. But the creator of the watchtower, Flugel, must have taken that into account as well. The nerve.
Man, I really want to see the guy's face. But how he looks is a mystery too. Damn it.
Subaru, can you come here a bit?
While he grumbled, a voice called from behind him. On the opposite side of Subaru and Co., rummaging through a separate bookcase, was Julius. Seeing him approach with Anastasia in tow, Subaru raised his hand.
Sure, what's up? You found something?
Unfortunately, nothing worth mentioning. I've not been able to find a single volume with a name I know since that first one. Your side appears to be in a similar situation as well.
That's not really accurate. Subaru did a good job. He really did find another volume. Then looked through it and started looking kind of wobbly. Right, Subaru?
I'll take Amelia Tan's praise to heart. But that's how it is.
I see. Please take care of yourself.
Subaru nodded his brows as Julius turned away from him, disinterested. While watching the two from his side, Amelia spoke.
But Julius and the others haven't found the stairs too. We're really in trouble.
I understand where Amelia-sama is coming from. However, if we are to believe that this library does indeed record the names of all the dead from the past to the present, although it is quite hard to digest, I am afraid we alone cannot make much progress. We need many more people, like the entire population of a country or so.
Julius proposed with a serious face. Subaru had no objections with the proposal's idea, feeling that such a number was more or less necessary. The Auguria sand dunes had already been conquered, and if one needed to only reach the watchtower, one only had to avoid the Witch Beast Den. That alone could be a great adventure by itself, but...
Unlike before, the way to the tower is as good as open. I believe that it is worthwhile to report the existence of this mysterious library to the royal capital. We could make it a much more effective use in such a manner.
The value of this information is definitely nothing to joke about. But I'm also pretty sure a lot of history buffs just like you will be born from this. Eh?
That is a mere side effect.
Faced with Subaru's teasing, Julius quickly replied, sinking into silence right after. After nary a moment, he sighed, punctuating with a no, and sighed.
To say I am not expecting that would be a lie. Apologies. I had a selfish motive for that proposal.
Come on! Don't get down like that. What's wrong with being self-centered? If you're feeling so sorry for that, what are you going to make of me? I'm just working for my own sake, 100% of the time.
Truly acting out of duty, always expecting some kind of reward, that was how Subaru behaved in basic terms. It was always about him. That was his way of life, his philosophy. That was why he could not compare to knights like Julius or Reinhard.
Anyway, there's no point in keeping yourself from it. I mean, the reason Anastasia-san herself wants to become the monarch is pretty self-centered, right?
Yep, that's right. I want to become the monarch because I want to satisfy my greed. If I do, I could profit a lot more. That's all there is to it.
Anastasia laughed at Subaru's crass remark without any traces of being offended, and softly patted the white fur of her scarf.
That's why I think it's so amusing that Julius became my knight. At least I think that way. Does Amelia-san and y'all think the same?
Personally, it's better for us if you guys' paces don't match. So just go along and fall apart. Ouch! Amelia Tan, it hurts!
Don't say mean things. I'm personally not acquainted with Anastasia-san and her camp from before, so I can't say anything carelessly. But no matter how much better my opponents are, I'll always win my way, alongside my knight.
At the part about her knight, Amelia tugged at Subaru's sleeve and puffed up her chest. Looking at that face from the side, Subaru exhaled a long sigh.
We might be greenhorns, but we won't lose.
Who even says greenhorns nowadays? Ow! It hurts!
Amelia pinched Subaru's arm for making fun of her, so he quickly bounced away to escape the punishment. Looking at the two's behavior, Julius and Anastasia's expressions relaxed. Especially Julius, who looked to have dropped his air of self-reflection.
Sometimes I truly do feel afraid of you two. How much is an act and how much is genuine, I can never tell.
My case aside, Amelia Tan is always serious. That's what makes her so cute, right?
I shall take it to heart.
As Julius pulled in his chin, the derailed conversation came to the final station along the track. Instead, Anastasia clapped to bring everyone back to the topic.
Anyway, bringing it back to where we were, we're short on people, so there's a talk of bringing others from the outside, right?
Yes, that is so. Right now, as there are a few things to worry regarding the sand dunes, I believe it possible to bring a large investigation team into the tower. It would not only help with solving the mystery of this library, but also further in as we go above.
That's right, but I'm feeling a tad bit anxious.
Anxious, you say?
Off Julius's fervent speech, Anastasia nodded. Julius frowned as she raised her finger to point.
I'd welcome an increase in helping hands. Been wondering about that myself. Going around this library is taking a toll on my neck. You know, I'm small and all, so it's a real pain.
She spoke as she rubbed her nape.
But in the first place, I'm wondering if it's possible to even fit a lot of people in the tower. Think about what's in it for the other parties. One of the basics of business. Well, I might be calling it basics of business, but it'll come in handy no matter where you are in life. So let's start thinking along those lines.
Think about where the other party stands. But who would that be?
The one who built this tower, set up the examinations, and left behind Shala-san? That one. Let's think about being in his shoes for a moment. Y'all see?
That his personality's crap.
Yep. Thinks he's completely out of it.
As Subaru's lips twisted, Anastasia nodded in affirmation. Upon hearing those words, the always serious Amelia and Julius became stiff. But with how twisted Subaru and Anastasia's personalities were, they both seemed to be in perfect sync. Anastasia's opinion seemed to be plausible. If so, a person with an awful personality really did try to raise the difficulty of conquering the tower.
Shala! I've got something to ask. Come here.
Master! Aye, aye, coming right away.
Once Shala had been beckoned from the other side of the large bookcase, he got an enthusiastic response, followed straight away by the vision of a figure hopping high in the air. Shala's. Arms outstretched, her long ponytail waving in the air, she grinned as she jumped towards Subaru's chest.
Master!
Nope.
Ah!
With a nimble step, Subaru dodged the incoming glomp. However, as Shala was unable to stop her impetus, she dove face first onto the floor, her arms splayed across. She quickly turned to shoot a glare at him.
Master is seriously mean.
No. I didn't move away because it was you, but because you were going to crash into me full force. So my reflexes kicked in.
So you'll let me hug you if I come at you slowly?
I don't want to though.
Why not? What part of me is lacking? Even though I look this glamorous, even I'm knowing this Darshanai.
You're Darshanai, huh? Then that's why.
Whining at the top of her voice, Shala booed at Subaru's cold attitude. And while she pouted, two small girls came around from where she had jumped. Beatrice and Maylie, forgoing their appearance, were an uncommon pairing indeed. As if noticing Subaru's thoughts through his gaze, or maybe having realized it on her own, Beatrice put a bit more distance between herself and Maylie. Beatrice behaved that way with Petra as well, even though they were around the same age, outwardly. She maintained a clear line between herself and Maylie. Of course, it would be impossible for her to treat Petra and Maylie in the same way. Petra was an ally from the same camp, while Maylie was originally sent as an assassin from somewhere, who was even involved in the burning of the Forbidden Library and the Roswell Mansion.
If you keep shying away from people like that, you're never gonna make friends, you know.
What are you spouting about all of a sudden, I suppose? Anyway, Shala disappeared in the middle of talking, so we quietly came back, in fact.
I ruined the convo over there. My bad. Well, did you guys find anything good?
There was nothing in particular, I suppose. And thinking back, it might have not even been worth calling it a conversation, in fact. Yep, that's all that was, I suppose.
Huh?
Snapping away her face, Beatrice cut off answering Subaru's question. Before the alienated Subaru could further question her cold response, Shala had gotten back to her usual self. She stood upright by the strength of her abs alone, and...
Well, Master being mean isn't anything new. I can pull myself together alone. Getting back up fast is one of my selling points.
That, alongside your cooperation, Miss Shala, is something that aids us. By the way, may I ask something?
What's up? I'll warn you beforehand. I won't fall for someone who's not Master.
I admit that you are an attractive woman, but I am afraid that I must take a rain check on an invitation for dinner for now. I would like to ask and confirm a few things about this tower.
Julie elegantly added in a few sweet words, but tastefully avoided the topic altogether. This surprised Shala, who lauded herself as being stubborn as a bitch. As she was not expecting such an answer, her eyes widened, something that was very unlike her usual self, and meekly gave a, sure.
My thanks. Then I begin. Firstly, do you know the location of the stairs to the second floor?
The stairs to the second floor, Electra? No clue. Never went beyond the fourth, so I don't know.
That by itself is quite a shocking statement.
If she was to be trusted, then Shala had been at the watchtower for about 400 years. If, within that time, she had not once gone off to explore the tower she lived in, but instead focused on keeping the sand dunes under her observation, then she was just too loyal to the one she followed. Frankly, Subaru felt very conflicted about being mistaken for that master.
Julius, let me interrupt for a moment.
This time, replacing her knight was Anastasia. Standing in front of her, Anastasia's light blue eyes reflected Shala's figure.
Shala-san's position, isn't that right? To be accurate, you're the keeper of the watchtower. No, of Great Library Pleiades, right? Exactly! I see. Then, according to my calculation, 5?
Anastasia lifted her right hand up to display 5 fingers. Shala, who could not grasp what she was getting at, simply stared down at her and blinked. However,
The sacred rules Shala-san was told to keep the tower protected. There's 5 of them, right?
Anastasia beamed widely as Shala fell silent, coming at a loss for words for the first time. As the two stared at one another's eyes, all it took was but a slight jerk of her shoulders to tell Anastasia that she was completely correct.
In the first place, I wasn't really hiding anything. I just didn't say anything because I wasn't asked. I want that on paper, please.
Just spit everything out already!
While Anastasia brought her secret-keeping to light, It was Subaru who crushed what few excuses Shala was trying to make. In response to his forced demeanor, Shala pressed the tip of her fingers together and answered.
Like, for example, if Master and everyone secretly tried to get out of the tower, I'd have to kill everyone. No mercy.
The hell? What's with you suddenly?
I wouldn't do it because I wanted to. We're just talking about what ifs. In the first place, I can't even go against that order.
At the sudden revelation of hostile intentions, Subaru intently stared at Shala, who shrunk back as she shook her head. Her bountiful chest pressed against her knees. She cradled herself into a ball.
I can't even kill you in the first place, Master. I'd get killed before that even happens, and it'll be over with. So the whole order's messed up.
If you're really that against it, why not just not do it? Unless... Wait. You're not gonna say it's a contract, right?
Feeling something off, Subaru brought those words to his lips, directing them at Shala. In the first place, if one thought about Shala's identity, then it would be very clear. For 400 years, she lived at the tower, standing guard over the witch's sealing shrine as the tower's keeper in place of the sage. Given such a role, and actually having acted upon it for the past several centuries, neither her lifestyle nor her lifespan were that of a human.
You... Are you a spirit just like Bearco?
In lieu of a fake promise, Beatrice had been locked up inside of the Forbidden Library for 400 years. If, just like her, Shala had spent the past 400 years shooting down any who dared approach the watchtower, waiting for those who would fulfill the conditions, then possibly she and Beatrice were of the same kind of existence.
No way. Not gonna stand being compared to those fluffball things called spirits. I absolutely refuse. Everyone's eyes are looking pretty scary suddenly.
That's because 80% of everyone present here is related to spirits!
As it stood, counting the amateur as well, there were 3 spiritual arts users. Furthermore, one particular young girl was a spirit herself, and another who was possessed by an artificial spirit herself. The only ones unrelated to spirits were the Oni sisters who waited downstairs, and the small girl who was looking at Shala with a mischievous expression for some reason, Maylee. None of what Shala said had sat well most with those who were present. However...
Let's leave that at that anyway. What the hell are you? If you're not a spirit, I don't see why you'd so desperately keep up your contract.
What are you saying, Subaru? Even if you're not a spirit or a spiritual arts user, if you make a promise, you have to keep it. Promises are important. Now, repeat after me.
No! Wait! That was just my bad, just now! It was just a figure of speech, and...
Promises are important. 3 times.
Promises are important! Promises are important! Promises are important!
Getting unexpectedly rebuked by Amelia, he repeated her words 3 times to get forgiveness. Either way, both Amelia's and Subaru's unwitting charade, and Shala's strictly obstinate attitude, were difficult to understand by outsiders. It was not simply a matter of messed up sense of duty, too.
Right now, what is important is to learn more about the orders Miss Shala has received. It is a bad habit of yours to derail the conversation. Please be aware of it.
Like all of it's my fault? Fine! That was my bad! All of it was my bad! I admit it was my fault! So just leave it at that! Damn you!
Wow, that's a totally big outburst. But that's just expected of Master. I'll talk.
Subaru, who approached with a pathetic and sour face, Shala beamed and dealt her hand. Then she cleared her throat, and in a strangely decent manner, now then, she opened her mouth.
I humbly present that I will now speak of the orders I was given. First, I am never allowed to let the challengers of the Great Library of Pleiades leave.
We're suddenly stuck here!
It's alright. There's a proper way out. As long as you properly clear the Great Library's examinations and reach the first floor Maya, then there's no problem. All daijoubu.
Shala said as she gave a thumbs up.
By the way, if this condition is violated, then I'll turn into a cold-blooded Sachujin guy pretty quick. So I'll invalidate my promise with Master. I'll get in the way.
That's got a bigger priority than my promise, huh? Kinda hurts.
Oh! To think I've managed to hurt Master? I must have gotten stronger. This is clearly an evolution. The fruits of 400 years.
I'm joking!
Me too.
Indulging in the fast back and forth, Shala raised a second finger and waved around her hand and spoke, moving on.
Well, I'm getting tired of this, so I'll rush it. First, it's forbidden to leave without completing the examinations. Second, it's forbidden to violate the rules of the examinations. Third, it's forbidden to disrespect the libraries. Fourth, it's forbidden to do anything which causes destruction to the tower itself. Fifth was... Oh, there's no fifth. All of that makes 4 rules, but...
Taking in Shala and her butchered explanation, Emilia turned towards Subaru and the others. The anxieties and fears she embraced were ones Subaru understood too. The rules Shala spoke of were roughly easy to stand by, but there were several curious statements mixed in. The problem was especially with...
I'm really curious about the "it's forbidden to violate the rules of the examinations" bit.
Seems like it was a hidden rule we were unaware of.
Julius agreed with Subaru, who touched his chin, lost in thought. At least during the examination of the 3rd floor, Taigeta, Subaru and the others had not received any information about the rules, and had not faced any problems with the monolith and its asterism. Speaking of which, the moment anyone touched the wrong monolith, they were disqualified.
Rules, regulations, they all sort of sound like bad news. Yeah, at least to me. Back then, the trials from the tomb would close down for the day if the challenger failed to pass it. It somewhat seems quite similar to how we redid the examination from earlier. So maybe...
Emilia stopped herself at that point and bit her lip. Her trembling purple eyes darted to Subaru, who gave a slight nod.
If you've got anything on your mind, now's the best time to speak up. Don't worry, I won't make fun of you, no matter what you say.
I know. You see, Subaru and Anastasia-san were saying that the person who made this tower is really mean, right?
Your choice of words is turning pretty cute, but that's right. What about it?
Thinking from the point of view from the other party's also important. In other words, if you try to look at what Shala said, while imagining how that really mean person felt, it's kinda like...
As everyone's gazes turned to Emilia, she licked her lips. Then she clapped together her hands and pointed to the ceiling.
There are rules we have to follow, but we... Oh, wrong character, shit. There are rules we have to follow, but we don't know what those rules are. That's really mean, isn't it?
In other words...
We have to imagine what could be the possible rules, and go on without breaking them.
Huh?
Everyone's faces tightened with anxiety at Emilia's words. To their response, Emilia's long eyelashes fringed as she looked down.
I feel like a kid now would do something like this.
Emilia-tan! To think we think of the same person when it comes to shitty personalities. We think alike!
That one sentence lent a bit more credibility to Subaru's own thoughts, at the very least. The owner of the malicious personality Emilia mentioned, he felt it was close to being right. Establishing rules that were not meant to be broken, but not telling the challenger themselves the contents of the rules. It was quite the distasteful disposition.
By the way, are you the one who's going to judge whether the rules are broken or not?
You're coming to get the hang of it. All the stuff I just said, I'm supposed to get it if there's any violation of them. Absolutely no way to trick me. Goes for both Master and his friends.
The meek voice expressed a mysterious power in the latter half of her words. That was not the physical prowess of Shala, but rather the opposite. That there was an existence much stronger than Shala, who could make her act like that.
It was already a bad joke, but now another bad joke got piled on top of it. Too late anyway.
Ugh, at times, I feel envious of the frivolous way you speak.
Julius sighed as he spoke. Looking at his handsome profile, Subaru shrugged.
Perhaps it is because of how you are always looking up that you developed such a persona. If that is so, then I am afraid I will never be able to gain such an experience.
You need to be more afraid of what's around your feet. You'll stub your toe on the corner of a desk. I really hope you do.
Yeah, good friends getting into arguing is fine and all. But let's not be forgetting the main topic.
Barging between Julius and Subaru, Anastasia stepped up to gaze down upon Shala.
That's all there is? There ain't anything besides that, right? Cross my heart. Not lying this time. Besides, so long as the rules aren't broken, my body's still gonna be mine. No, wait, that's wrong. It'll still be Master's.
Don't want it!
I got rejected! But my heart's always with Master.
Ugh, don't want that either!
Hands on her waist, Anastasia reconfirmed everything Shala had spoken of in short, with a few unnecessary words added by Shala, alongside her own position in recent events. It took a while, but she managed to confirm that Subaru's promise with her, to not harm him or his comrades, remained intact, and she planned on keeping it. Of course, with the condition that none of the rules went unbroken.
Either way, to think we can't get out of unless we complete the examinations. It's coming to look pretty similar to the trials back at the tomb.
Nah, worst case scenario, so long as we beat this here, we all get to go home, right? That's a lot easier than the one at the tomb.
Master would never do anything like that! He was the kindest ever! Had the biggest heart ever! My body is itchy because I lied!
Shala fluttered around, reaping what she sowed, as Amelia and Subaru looked on with disappointed expressions. For the time being, that was all they got from Shala.
Are you all finished talking? Can I go talk to the naked One-sama now?
We're done. Go ahead. Do what you want. Wait! You've already gotten super attached to her.
Judging that the talk was over, Maylee, who had been staying out of the conversation, ran up to Shala and climbed on top of her thin shoulders. That was the place Maylee felt most comfortable, ever since arriving at the tower. To Shala, who had lifted the dragon carriage like it was no big deal, Maylee ought to be as light as a feather.
Whenever I'm with One-sama, I feel kinda safer.
Well, I don't think much of it. I can look after ankle biter number 2 just fine.
Number 2?
Yeah, ankle biter number 2 is the one here, and number 1 is the one over there.
With Maylee still on her back, Shala pointed to Beatrice as number 1. Beatrice made no comment on Shala's belittling remark. Normally, considering her personality, she would have snapped at her full force, face red and puffy.
Wait a sec. She hasn't been talking for a while now. Is everything okay? Bayako? Oi, Beatrice! Pay attention! Come on! I'll kiss your forehead if you don't.
Do what you want, in fact. As if barely listening, Beatrice answered Subaru's words. Finding it unamusing, Subaru frowned. And then...
Mwah!
I suppose! Feeling somewhat annoyed, he really kissed her forehead. Immediately, Beatrice came to her senses, covered her forehead, and leapt away. Then tripped. Then got up. Then tripped again.
You're overreacting.
What are you doing all of a sudden, in fact? Your train of thought makes no sense, I suppose.
My train of thought makes perfect sense. I even got permission from you. Are you really okay?
Feeling a little hurt at how she desperately scrubbed the part where he had kissed, Subaru worried about the little girl. Putting in a little thought, this tower, a place with a shady backstory, was in the middle of the sand dunes. Subaru did not understand it very well, but there was some kind of miasma flowing through here, though that might be the cause.
If you're not feeling good, just hold my hand. You get better that way, right?
Possible! It won't happen, in fact! Give me a little time to calm down, I suppose. Her face beat red. Beatrice squealed at Subaru, so he turned away with a shrug. That she refused to hold hands came as a bit of a shock, but the rest of her attitude was that of her usual self. If there was something really worrying about her, he would just ask again later.
Now then, the problem is...
That's in the end, we have no choice but to fumble through the unknown in search of the stairs to the second floor. Is it?
Julius finished Subaru's sentence as the two turned to face the bookcases once more. The reason they looked a bit down was that they required a bit more manpower to tackle this, but because the orders Shala had been given, they had to relinquish the thought. If they did not clear the examinations, they would not be allowed to get out of the tower. Naturally, one could not go out to beyond the sand dunes to call for help. Ultimately, there was no choice but to continue the search with the members present.
Will you get it if I say it's like looking for a single grain of gold in a mountain of sand?
Speaking in such poetic words is unlike you. However, I can honestly agree with them.
Rare as it was, faced with a great hurdle that obstructed them, Subaru and Julius got along. Nothing could be accomplished by dawdling, so they prepared to dive once more into the sea of books to find a way to the next floor. Or so they had decided when...
Hey, I put a little thought into it.
Emilia interrupted the two who were going back into the library with a slightly raised hand. She tilted her head towards them, put a finger to her lips, and spoke.
I thought about how the person who built this tower, his personality is a little dishonest, right?
Your word choice is turning adorable again. But that's right. So?
Putting together everything that was discussed from the previous conversation, Emilia added, "So," and continued.
The staircase, I think it might just be at that place.
I'll say it again. The guy who made this tower has the shittiest personality ever!
Standing in front of the long and winding staircase that led to the second floor Electra, Subaru spat out various colors of abuse. The staircase that led to the second floor, the location which Emilia had thought of, was...
I thought I'd be in places where we hadn't looked. Maybe on the 4th or 5th floors?
Emilia spoke, feeling elated, yet somewhat perplexed. Her guess had hit the nail squarely on its head. The staircase to the second floor had appeared right beside the green room, where Rem and Ram were waiting, in a previously empty space. And that's the end of the chapter.
Oh, yeah! Woo! We did it! I know Connor already pointed it out in chat, but wow, who the fuck here? Anastasia against regulations and rules? What?
What? No!
It's like every billionaire ever being like, you know, the biggest thing that stops economic growth, it's those regulations! We need to cut them!
And by Canada.
And
No!
by Canada.
Get the fuck
No.
out of here. Get out of here. Become our 14th province.
In fact, we offer to purchase some states if you guys would be interested.
I mean, I'd be interested, but like,
You can have
I don't think
Minnesota.
we gotta make that call.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Or take New England if they want
Anyway.
us.
It'll take some
You aren't
Minnesota.
getting New England.
At least we can still get some spray cheese. I love spray cheese.
You can fucking take Ohio.
You could take your spray cheese and go into the ocean with that, thank you.
I'll take my spray cheese. I think we can make Ohio great again, okay?
No, you can't. There's no goddamn way.
Oh my god.
Ohio has even given up on Ohio.
Ohio.
Who would have thought that the
Yeah.
Moga revolution would start here in the live stream?
That's crazy.
Canada, America's hat.
Yes.
Real quick, big thanks you to F22 and Chilled Ice for the kind words and donations. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys!
Hi.
Yeah, this was a really fun chapter to do, eh? Like, these set of... I really like, even though I think reading it as like a whole block when I did was, like, binging it doesn't hit as hard, but, like, having these nice little gaps of, like dialogue between the characters and, like, breathing room between each thing is really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
It's not normally how it goes.
There's also like a lot more foreshadowing and hints and like
Yeah.
little bits of the lore that he's like slowly seeding in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of setup.
And just real quick for anyone who didn't see my message in chat about this either, at this point when Tape was writing Arc 6, Arc 4 had not even gotten the light novels yet. So the change from Sekhmet being the one that greets Amelia in the end of her third trial to being Minerva had not been done yet. Which is why that's the one that she's recalling.
Mm-hmm. I also believe the light novels don't really contain any of these, like, witches, like, readings, right?
I think it's just Typhon, right, Common?
Typhon, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So-
just Typhon.
I have the speculation that at the time that he was writing Arc 4, Tape didn't know who Amelia's mother was yet. And decided to make that Minerva afterwards, if we believe our common theory, and thus had to cut Subaru reading her book and knowing her history.
Yeah, because otherwise he would know, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just some of the neat and interesting little details between web novel canon and, like, the actual main canon of the story. Because there's quite a few little things that kind of build up over time. We could see some major differences by the end of the story.
I mean, even just from the beginning of the story.
Yeah.
Web novel Amelia in Arc 2 is sassy and fully aware of what sex is, and that is not true for canon Amelia.
And that changes even in the web novel itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly, Zoc. That's why it was cut. Too much lore for Subaru to know.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's too much knowledge that Subaru earns.
Oh god, experiencing.
The whole point is
I don't wanna
Subaru
think about that.
at points supposed to learn less than we do.
Yeah.
And if anyone's interested in the story Julius is talking about here, check out EX4, or at the very least our podcast for EX4.
Mm-hmm. I'd highly recommend reading EX4 before you touch any Arc 7 or Arc 8 stuff. I think that would be the best way to experience it.
Yeah.
If you decide to do it at all.
Yeah, I should say if you decide to do it at all, but I think reading it after feels kind of pointless.
You definitely read at least EX4, maybe EX5 before.
You can hear our thoughts further on that on the podcast, but we have very strong feelings on 4 and 5 in their relation to 7.
You guys should watch the podcast. They're fun.
Hi.
They're great.
You should just watch the podcast.
Some of them are longer than feature-length movies.
Fucking true. Says the editor.
You should apologize.
We have.
Yeah, literally every time they're like, it went 3 hours. So I'm like,
I'm sorry, we went long.
content. That's so good.
It's so funny too, because it's always the ones we never expect to go long that end up being like 3 hours, and the ones we're like, oh, this is going to be so much content. It's only like an hour and a half, and we're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, we have so much to discuss. Discusses everything within like the first 30 minutes.
Well, crap.
Well, shit.
Man.
It's, I love all of this banter between the characters, though. Like, that whole Beatrice interaction with Subaru at the end there is so funny.
It is extremely funny.
It also makes me appreciate Julius's existence in the story, in
Yes.
this arc in particular, even more. Because you think about all this, like, ridiculously long arc Arc 4 chapters and the super long Arc 7 chapters. And you realize, oh, Julius isn't there to get them back on track, like, ever. And that's like half of all of his lines in this chapter is, anyway, what we were talking about before.
Like, guys, please.
Yeah. Guys, I'm the only one with no ADHD here. Please fucking focus.
That's probably exactly it.
Really, please,
Please, for the
let's
love
stop
of
going on tangents.
Volcanica, focus.
He keeps the plot going.
I also really appreciate like a lot of the nuance in Subaru and Julius's like friendship and relationship. It's so interesting to see him pivot back and forth by having serious conversations with Julius and then wishing the utmost amount of pain upon him.
It's like, oh, you fucking nerd. You just want other people to be interested in history, don't you?
You fucking history nerd. I don't want to learn shit.
And then Julius was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry." And then Sue was like,
I was
hey,
being
hey,
selfish
hey,
with
hey,
wanting people to
hey,
learn.
Hey, just
Yeah.
chill.
I was being selfish by wanting to educate people and have more people to talk about history with.
I'm sorry, I wanted the population to be learned. I'll stop.
History.
It's so funny too because Super at one point is like, "Oh, Wallachia, that's the country to the south, right? Bro is so bad at learning."
Yeah, bro doesn't know jack shit about this world, man.
And the funny thing is he tries too, and it doesn't work. It's so funny.
It just doesn't sink.
No.
Super, there's 3 countries to know, that aside from the one you're in. It's not that hard, dude.
That's the one to like. They're
Trying
under
each
us.
one to a finger.
They're
It'll be
above us.
fine.
Not only that, he has Beatrice and like he knows Beatrice and Julius, and who like are amazing teachers with lots of knowledge. And Amelia, who's learning herself, who's probably speaking to him often about what she's learning, and he's just like not absorbing any of it.
Like,
Like a personal record.
What
It's
are we
like,
gonna have
nope,
to
how
do?
many facts can I not learn today? Let's
I
keep
mean, he
score.
even says here, it's like, even if I know how to read the book in front of me, if I'm not interested, I just get the words and it goes right and back out of my head.
Bro is like
It's
full
really pointless.
fucking.
It doesn't fit.
He's like that anime watcher who just like fully fucking absorbs into the casual show and just leaves existence. He's just there, existing.
Fully immersive.
Yeah, drooling at the mouth.
I would
Like,
say
this is all that
drooling.
there is.
He's just not analyzing anything in front of him. He's just experiencing it.
He's just vibing.
I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of get that vibe from the way he reads these books too. He doesn't even like posit even that much on them. He does a little bit, and then he's like, "Huh, that was an experience."
Yeah, he's like, man, that's crazy. Okay.
Anyway, moving
so, hey,
on.
Amelia.
Julius, why aren't you emotionally disturbed by what you just read? Can't you tell I'm masking it entirely? You should be bothered.
Masking my emotions. I also really like that moment where Julius is trying to hide something. Subaru is the one that figures it out immediately because he knows him so well and calls him out on it.
It's like, bro.
He did also
Come on.
just scream in pain, like, immediately
Yeah.
before that.
Mhm. It's like
Just a little tip.
you're a fucking dumbass.
He woke up and went, "Ah!" and then he was like, no,
Yeah.
guys, I'm good. I'm good.
It's all chill. I kind of just, it was a one-sided relationship. And he's like, oh, now you've one-sidedly told me about this. Let me read his book. You fucking idiot, you lied! Ah!
When you sneezed, I thought you totally added that sneeze for effect. And I was
Oh no, that wasn't
wow,
a
that's
sneeze. That was a
crazy.
yell. That
Oh.
was a scream.
That's crazy.
If I might cut it out and had it as a sneeze, then
Just sound like a violent sneeze.
Shala
Yeah,
is
Zog,
also...
maybe you just need to kiss and get it over with. You're right.
Shala is also just like a fucking goober. Like, she's trying so
Oh,
hard
she's
to
a
get
damn
Subaru's attention. And he's
Oh,
just like,
yeah.
ew, what a
Yeah.
worm. Would you love me if I'm a worm? No.
no.
And then she does like the little finger thing. But what if I was a really cute worm?
Yeah, but what if I was a really cute worm?
I'd step on you.
I'd
What would you
step
do
on
it
it.
with love?
Foreshadowing.
No, she'd end after I'd step on you, and she'd be like, "Oh, okay, that means that Master touches me," or something like that. Like,
Yeah,
Step on
exactly.
me? Oh, Master is so kind.
He
And then,
even
like,
put the
she shivers.
soles of his shoes on me.
To talk around this vaguely so I don't spoil anyone in chat, because I did see that some people are experiencing Arc 6 for the first time through this. The twist is not super well hidden like I thought it was the first
No,
time.
it's not.
Like, it's so obvious.
yeah,
Yeah.
Just- yeah.
I can't help but think
It's like
back
in
on,
hindsight, it's like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like,
And I don't
man,
even
am I
know it's
stupid?
coming, but it's like, I think I worked out what's
There's
happening.
times where I'm almost like, Depay, you set this up too well, bro.
Was I a fucking jackass back then, or what's going on with me?
This is what happens when you just let your eyes glaze over when you're just reading Subaru and Amelia constantly accidentally flirting with each other.
Yeah.
For chapters on end.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, is it done yet? Come on.
They're pinching each other
All right,
again.
back into it. Let's go.
Yeah, they're pinching each other again.
My whole
Oh, Subaru's
activity,
screaming again.
1/3 of my readings was just flirting with Subaru. No, it's 2/3. 2/3.
It's so funny too, because it's like fucking Shala's like running after Subaru, trying to grab him, and he's dodging her, and Amelia's like accidentally tripping out of the way and dodging his flirt. It's so funny.
Mhm. It's like, no, never
Poor
break a
guy.
promise. Say it 3 times. I'm not gonna 3 times.
It's like, please forgive me. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
Subaru in that moment had the fear of God in him. I hope you know.
I mean, she can, like, we've seen how strong she is. Her pinches could be ripping skin.
Oh yeah, no,
Oh
those
yeah,
pigeons,
oh yeah.
like, yeah, okay.
Pinching is like, she's pinching the nerve.
All I'm
Like
saying
being hit
is,
by a hammer.
we just gotta be glad that she doesn't come from Questeco, because she already cares so much about spirit stuff. If Subaru said any heretical things, he would be turned into ice.
So actually, I am atheist.
I don't believe in spirits, he
spirits?
says next
I
to
don't believe in
Beatrice.
I don't believe in spirits. Bearco like vanishes.
It's like when you try and play an atheist D&D character. And I just look at you like, are you serious?
There is so much evidence that
No,
these
you know-
things exist in this universe. What do you mean you don't believe?
God,
I just don't
trust
believe.
me. God no exist.
Make an atheist paladin somehow.
Somehow make
Where's
that
your power
work.
come
Seen
from?
that
I was
happen.
just
I guess
there.
I guess
I'm
you
just saying
technically
awesome.
can now because it's based on their oath and not a religion anymore, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Well, you
yeah.
still can't make them atheists without making them, like, actually mentally, like,
No,
broken.
it had to be
Messed
done
up.
with making them delusional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or anti-theist. An anti-theist paladin could be interesting, but that's right.
that would be interesting, but that's not atheist.
Like I've seen it done where the entire oath is just the god trying to convince the paladin that he exists, while the paladin is like, no,
no,
this is
no.
all me,
Nope.
all me, baby.
I'm just that great.
I'm just that guy.
I can just do this.
Anything else to discuss from these 2 chapters here, or that we want to announce or talk about for the channel?
Audition. Keep auditioning.
Please
Yay.
join me.
Please.
Friends. I honestly apologize for my lack of energy. The wall has been.
It's a tall wall today.
Give it a few more weeks. It'll be summer break, and I'll get a break from my job, and I'll be like, hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel.
What's up, fuckers?
What's up, fuckers?
Oh, jeez.
It's your girl.
Yeah.
We're so back.
You can also finally catch up.
Yeah, I'll finally catch up. Remember that one week I had off, and I actually read a whole arc
Oh, yeah.
and a few chapters?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That was fun.
What is
Hearing
having a
your,
life when you
I
take care of other people's children?
mean,
There is
I'll
none.
eventually find out.
None.
Eventually.
Teal'c, perhaps the only one who could offer a source of comfort, cuts it down.
Tailsy's like, I got more help.
The only one who knows.
It's like, please, I'm drowning.
So I'm like, oh, do you want a rock so you die quicker?
Please.
No, it's a fucking like I'm drowning, and then you give them a high five instead of grabbing them. and pulling them out.
Oh, nice.
Or it's like that one Pokemon comic where it's like, Pikachu, I don't want to drown. And it's like, no, Pikachu, listen to me. I don't want to drown. And then it goes to the outside of the building and it's just like the giant thunderbolt.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
With that, I think we are done and fried.
I think
Bring
we're all
us chapter
tired
done.
and we deserve some rest, and we're gonna flop on the floor.
Thank you all for
We will
being
see you
here
all
today.
Saturday.
See you Saturday.
See you Saturday, guys. Thank you so much.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
And